Well, hey, everybody. I hope you're doing well today. Um, Thank you for joining us for our webinar on PowerGP Online, the cloud that makes Dynamics GP better. My name is Chris Dobkins, and I'll be your host for today's presentation. And we will be going through some of the things that we've done inside of PowerGP Online that really help it make Dynamics GP better. Many of you, I'm sure, have know me. I've been around in the community for a long time. I'm sure I know many of you. I have almost 25 years of experience working with Dynamics GP in our community. I've had an opportunity to work on some of the largest Dynamics GP deployments in the cloud, some of the largest Dynamics GP deployments ever, in fact. We've done a 600 concurrent user deployment of GP and a 400 concurrent user deployment of GP. It always makes me laugh when I hear someone tell me we have too many users for GP at 20. But we've had a real opportunity to work on some really exciting projects in the Dynamics GP space. Our mission at Ingevity is to improve the life and success of our partners and customers by providing exceptional business application experiences that simplify, inform, and delight. And that really is what's behind everything we do at Ingevity. All of the innovations we've made with PowerGP Online, it's really about providing our customers with exceptional experiences with Dynamics GP, and for those who want to be in the cloud, with exceptional cloud experiences on Dynamics GP. Now today what we're going to do, we're going to talk a little bit about the path ahead for Dynamics GP. We're going to talk about how PowerGP Online makes Dynamics GP better. For those of you who are looking for a cloud experience, but you also want to keep your Dynamics GP, we're going to talk about how you can do that. We're going to introduce to you PowerGP Payments. If you haven't seen kind of what the next thing is that we're working on, we're really excited about it. And I'm going to give you a little sneak preview of what's coming. And then I'm going to show you some demos. We made this webinar a little bit longer today, so we'll be able to show you a few more demos of some things maybe you haven't seen before on our demos. And then finally, if we have some time, we'll open it up for Q&A. All right, are you ready? Let's get started. Let's talk about the path ahead for Dynamics GP. So first of all, I know many of you are probably aware of the announcements that Microsoft has made over the last several weeks about the future of the support of Dynamics GP. From what we understand, the current state of those announcements, Microsoft has said that through September of 2029, they will be providing new features for Dynamics GP, and through 2031, they'll be providing service packs and hot fixes and security patches for Dynamics GP. What we believe, and through our conversations with Microsoft at Summit, we believe they're going to make some updates to those deadlines. It seems like they really heard us when we said that we needed to be able to have year-end updates for 2029 so that our payroll customers could finish their payroll year in 2029 with payroll updates from Microsoft. And honestly, the sense that I got from the folks at Microsoft is that they're probably going to be extending these dates as well. So I don't know that these dates are hard and fast, but at the end of the day, regardless of what Microsoft chooses to do in terms of how they support Dynamics GP, Ingevity has made the commitment that we're going to be continuing to support Dynamics GP for as long as we have customers that want to use Dynamics GP. So if you love GP, if GP is the heart and soul and circulatory system of your business like it is for ours, you can rest assured that you can continue to use GP, and there will be people like Ingevity supporting it. And honestly, I mean, we have customers that still use FRX. We still support them using FRX. FRX hasn't been supported in a long time. We've got almost 100,000 customers running on old versions of Navision that don't want to upgrade to the new versions of Navision. We've got customers running on AX 2009. There are a lot of customers out there that are running on versions of accounting software that their publishers don't support. But as long as their partners support them, they feel confident and comfortable in continuing to use those applications. And I can tell you right now, Ingevity has no plans to move away from Dynamics GP in our business at any time in the foreseeable future. So we're going to be one of those customers that just keeps on using it. So we know that there are still somewhere between 30 and 40,000 of us out here that are running Dynamics GP in our business. And we also know that on these dates that Microsoft has published, that GP isn't going to just stop working. GP is just going to keep on working, whether or not Microsoft is saying they support it or not. And as I just said, Ingevity is committed to continuing to support Dynamics GP and continuing to use Dynamics GP even after Microsoft stops supporting it. So the real question, I think, that is important for all of us to be asking is that if Dynamics GP still works for your business, if it still meets your needs, then why spend the time and treasure to move to something that's going to do less for you? The whole process of moving to something else is a time-consuming, chaotic process. It takes not just a lot of time and treasure, but a lot of leadership capital. I know at Ingevity, if we decided to move to something else, it would involve almost every single leader in our business, and we would have a really hard time doing almost anything else during that 12 to 18 to 24 month period of time that it would take us to make this change. So we would have a hard time while we're making this change also doing things that actually provide our customers with more exceptional experiences, doing things that actually improve the life of our partners and our customers. So, an ERP implementation for us would be something that would make it really hard for us to do things that really execute our mission, the reason why we exist. So, if you find yourself in a similar place, I just want to encourage you that the worst possible reason to change your ERP is because somebody tells you you need to. When you get to a point where you need to change your ERP, I hope it's because there's some new capability in the new solution that you're moving to that really provides value to your business, that really helps you level up, that helps you provide better service to your customers and better management of your inventory and just a better experience for your team. Because moving to something that isn't going to have the capabilities of what you're on now, just because Microsoft says they're going to stop supporting it, it is a lot of work. And I know for us, the light at the end of that tunnel is just not bright enough to get us through the process. So that's what I have to say about the path ahead for Dynamics GP right now. If you've got some questions about this, put them in the GoToWebinar questions area, and when we get to the end, we'll spend some time and answer those questions for you. Now, if you are a customer and you have been hearing from your partner, or you've been hearing someone who calls you up and says they're from Microsoft, wants to talk to you about migrating from Dynamics GP to BC, there are a few things that I want to talk to you about that, because there's a lot of misinformation in our market today about Dynamics GP and BC. So the first myth is that you have no choice but to migrate to BC, and I use those terms, the air quotes, migrate, because this isn't really a migration. This is a whole new implementation. If you remember back in the day, there used to be this ERP product called Navision. Navision is the product that Microsoft bought back in like 2003 and is now renamed to Dynamics 365 Business Central, or we just affectionately call it BC. So it's a whole new product. It's not a new version of GP. It's a whole new product, and you do have a choice. You don't have to move from GP to BC. I know a lot of our customers that are looking to move to other things are looking at solutions from companies like Acumatica and NetSuite and Intact. BC is not. There's nothing special about BC other than it's also a Microsoft product. But a lot of our customers that we talk to are actually just frankly planning to stick with GP because it's working so well for their business. Another big myth is that BC is an upgrade to Dynamics GP. It is not. It is a completely separate product. Now here come the reason behind those air quotes. Migrating to BC is easy. It's easy, and it should only require around 100 hours of consulting time. We recently had a customer come to us. They thought, oh, what the heck? Let's take a look at this BC thing. They had their partner give them a quote for re-implementing BC. This is a customer that has 2 users of Dynamics GP, and their quote to move to BC was over $100,000. You see, this customer had a couple of ISV products, a couple of third-party products for GP that didn't exist for BC, and I think they had a little dexterity customization as well. So in order to reproduce all those ISV functionality through custom code and to recreate that customization, it's going to cost $100,000 for a 2-user system to be implemented on BC. So it is certainly not an easy process, and it is not a migration. It is a new system implementation. Another big myth about migrating to BC is that all your data will migrate. Now, like some of the best myths, there's a little bit of truth to this myth. You see, if you're using Dynamics GP, there are some migration tools that will move your data from GP into BC, but it only moves data from GP's core modules like GL, AP, AR, sales order, purchase order, and inventory, and it moves them into extension tables inside of Business Central. So what does that mean? It means when you go to a customer record to look up their invoice history, the invoices from GP won't be there. You'll have to go to a different place inside of Business Central to find that data because they're in separate tables. It's almost like if you created extender tables inside of GP to hold historical data, and you had to go to extender windows to see that data. That's kind of what it's like. So yes, the data will move, but it's not in the place where you're going to go to look for it from invoices, say, that are created inside of BC. It's also really important to note that if you're using an ISV product, if you're using Winsoft for field service, or Horizons for manufacturing, or Vicinity for process manufacturing or brewing beer, your ISV data is not part of those migration tools, and it's not going to migrate. So it's really important if you go to market and you're looking at these at BC, you're looking at other products, it's really important that you take some of those things into consideration. This is a long, expensive, complex, chaotic process. And like I said earlier, I really, really hope if you're going to embark on something like that, that your business is getting something out of it that's going to make your business better. Now, the good news is that you are already on Dynamics GP, which at Ingevity, we believe wholeheartedly is the best mid-market accounting product in North America. It has the broadest functionality of any other application that we've looked at. And through our ISV ecosystem, it has the ability to verticalize into almost any industry. It's got great capabilities for reporting. You can hook it up to Power BI and dozens of other reporting tools. whether financial reporting tools or just regular kind of reporting tools. You've got a lot of capabilities that that you can leverage through our ISV community. You've got some great integration capabilities. So if you need to hook up a billing system, like a Medicare billing system, or you need to hook up a custom system that manages your liquid inventory, you can hook those systems up to GP really, really easily. And you can really make Dynamics GP work the way you need it to work. And like I said right at the top of this slide, the best news is you are already using it. So what happens next? If you're already using Dynamics GP and it is working for you and it is meeting your needs, there is nothing that you have to do. If Dynamics GP is not meeting your needs, then please explore all of your options. Don't just look at the solution that your partner has picked out for you, or the solution that Microsoft says should work for you. We've got a lot of partners in our space right now that they work with GP, but also they work with one other product. Like they picked one other product they want to work with, and a lot of those partners, they're being motivated by those other software publishers to bring a certain number of customers onto their product every year. Otherwise, they make less money. So there's a lot of motivation for those partners to try and get you to move, even if it may not be in your best interest to do that. So keep your skeptic hat on as you're listening to everything, and just remember that if your partner presumes to know what application is going to be best for you because it just happens to be the one other that they work with, don't assume that they have your best intentions at heart. So it's kind of like a little Johnny Cochran thing. If your partner presumes, you shouldn't assume, right? You can say it with me. If your partner presumes, you shouldn't assume. So just keep that in mind. If your partner presumes, you shouldn't assume. Explore all your other options to make sure that if you're going to go through a long, expensive, chaotic implementation process, the thing that you're moving to is really going to meet your needs. It is really going to give your business something more. And remember, there is nothing that you need to do right now if Dynamics GP is working for you. You can just keep on using it. If you're using payroll, by the way, Ingevity is actually right now investigating what we can do as a partner to continue to provide payroll tax updates after Microsoft stops. So we're looking at what are the things that we can do, not only to continue those payroll tax updates, but what are the things that we can do as an ISV and with our other partner ISVs in this community to continue to expand and enhance your experience with Dynamics GP, whether you're in the PowerGP Online cloud or not, so that you continue to get new functionality and continued support of your Dynamics GP and ISV applications for 10, 15, 20 years into the future. So please rest assured, we are going to be here for you. So all that said, let's talk about the cloud that makes Dynamics GP better. So this is PowerGP Online. We like to say at Ingevity that PowerGP Online is a secure, modern, authentic cloud experience for Dynamics GP. So you can have both. You can have a real cloud experience with your ERP and accounting software that connects really easily to other cloud applications like Expensify and Timely, and there's hundreds of them out there. Power BI, Power Automate. And you can still keep your Dynamics GP. You don't have to change to another accounting system in order to have that cloud experience if you want it. Now, Mike asked me to make sure that we talked about security. Security is the #1 bullet point. It's also the most boring part of what we do in PowerGP Online, but I think you could argue that it is pretty important. So I want to talk to you a minute before we get into all the cool stuff that we've done in Dynamics GP. I want to talk to you about how we protect your data to help make sure that you don't get ransomware or you don't have a breach in our cloud where someone's able to access your data. We call this PowerGP Protect. This is our entire security posture, and it comes as a part of PowerGP Online. This is just something you get. This is something we do all the time, every day, to make sure that we are being good stewards of your data, and that there's nothing that happens in our environment puts you at risk. So there are a few things that we do to make sure that PowerGP Online is the most secure cloud for Dynamics GP. And the first thing is we want to have a really strong defense. So in order to do that, there are a few things that we do. Number one, we require all of our users that have elevated access to use multi-factor authentication. Now, what is that? That sounds complicated. How does that work? Well, really what it means is when you try to log in to our remote desktop environment, or if you have a user that's logging into a web client and they have elevated access, they have administrative rights in our environment, they'll have to enter their username and their password, and then they're going to have a second factor of authentication. The first is their username and password, something they know. The second is something they have, and that's something they have. At least for me, I use my smartphone. So when I log into one of our environments, I enter my username and password, and I have a little app on my smartphone from Microsoft called the Authenticator app, and it pops up a little notification, and it says, "Would you like to approve this authentication?" I say yes. The phone does its biometric scan of my face to make sure I am who I say I am, and then it allows me to log into GP. So I need to have my username and password, something I know, and I have to be able to authenticate to my mobile device. I have to have it in my possession and be able to authenticate with it in order to access the environment. Now, we actually make multi-factor authentication available to all of our users. So if you just want to level up your security posture in your Dynamics environment, you can require all of your users to use that multi-factor authentication to get into our environment. But if any of your users or your partner users have elevated permissions, it's an absolute requirement. Because one of our competitors in this space, actually two of our competitors in this space over the last 5 years have had significant breaches and significant downtime, like 3, 4, 5, 6 months of downtime as a result, because an administrative credential was compromised. A bad actor was able to access their environment and move horizontally across all of their customers, and it was just a complete total disaster for those customers. So you requiring the second factor makes it almost impossible for a bad actor to access your environment and then be able to move into another customer's environment, or to be able to access another customer's environment and be able to get into yours. So really important. It's a kind of a foundational thing that we've built into our environment. The next thing that we do, we hire a team of white hat hackers to try to break into our environment. So they come and they tell us, they say, hey, here's where the weak parts of your wall are, so that we can go and we can ensure that those parts of the wall are strong so that the bad guys can't get through. We also go through regular security audits. We automate the deployment of security patches to all of our customer servers to make sure that we don't have any servers that have gotten behind, that have known vulnerabilities that could be exploited. We've also worked really hard to create as much of an air gap as we possibly can between our backup systems and our production systems, because we know that in order for ransomware to work, the bad guys, one of the first things they try to do is they try to find your backup systems, and they will deploy the ransomware to those backup systems first, before they deploy them to the production system. So because if I get ransomware but I just have a backup that I can restore from, I'm not going to pay the ransom, right? I'm just going to restore the backup. So we've worked really hard to try and keep those systems completely separate, so that if a bad actor did compromise one of our production systems, that it would be extremely difficult for them to be able to even find and then to access our backup systems. And then Finally, from a defensive standpoint, we do off-site all of our backups on a daily basis, and the systems that we use to off-site these as the backups are being pushed up through the cloud, they analyze those backups through the lens of ransomware to make sure that there's no ransomware in our backups. And that's another safety precaution that we take. It also helps to prevent situations like, I don't know, like say a meteor hits our data center and we need to restore everything. We've got everything backed up off site so that we can do that. It's a pretty random situation though. We don't have a lot of meteors hitting Denver, Colorado these days. The next thing that we do is, in addition to having a great defense, they say the best defense is a strong offense. And we've got a great offense that's powered by AI. So we have AI-powered behavioral analytics that watch the things that are happening in our environment and will notify us if they see something that seems unusual. We do real-time prevention. Our systems are constantly scanning, and the AI is constantly watching the entire environment to make sure that nothing happens. It looks deep into not just the network traffic, but also into every server and endpoint, every router, every firewall in the environment to look for things that might indicate a bad actor's presence. We do active threat hunting, and the AI will, if it detects something, it will automatically isolate it and it will automatically remove it from the environment. So if this happens at 3 in the morning, the AI takes care of things, and our team engages in that next morning. So we have a really good offense. We've also made sure from an architecture standpoint that everything in our environment is redundant. This is really how we meet our uptime guarantees and how we prevent against hardware failures. So every piece of equipment we have in our environment, we have 2 of them. We have 2 firewalls. We have a lot more than 2 switches. We have tons of switches and disk subsystems. But every single thing that we have a primary and a secondary. This helps us ensure that if a primary goes down, secondary will kick in and replace it. This is also how we have the ability to do things like take servers down for maintenance without creating downtime, because we can take a primary down to install updates, and the secondary can handle the traffic or vice versa. So helps us reduce downtime in maintenance windows, but also helps ensure that we can meet those guaranteed uptimes. So these are the things, some of the things that we do to make sure that PowerGP Online is the most secure cloud for Dynamics GP. If you entrust your data to us, we are going to do everything we can to make sure that your data is safe and that nothing happens to the environment that's going to cause your business to not be able to access your data for an extended period of time. So from a PowerGP Online standpoint, PowerGP Online supports both remote desktop and web client experiences. What we've found is the remote desktop experience is by far the most common, simply because we have a lot of people out there that have been working with GP for 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and they just really enjoy that desktop experience and don't want to give it up. If that's you, our desktop experience is available. It supports multi-factor authentication. It supports all of our ISVs, Management Reporter, FRX if you're still using it, all the integrations that you might need to do. You can do all of that through our remote desktop edition. In fact, that's what I'm going to be using to do the demos here in just a few minutes. We also offer a web client edition. This is the web client is kind of a newer interface for Dynamics GP. It's a little more update. It looks a little more current, and it's a great place for some of your sometimes users to use. So you've got people that need to log in every once in a while and run a smart list. You've got people that every once in a while pop in to approve an expense report or approve a PO request, or maybe they want to enter a timesheet or enter a PO requisition. Those are great user experiences for web client. Most of those folks haven't been using GP for 10, 20 years, and they'll be a lot more happy about being able to access Dynamics GP through a browser or from their iPad, even sometimes from their phone, to do quick little things they might need to do. And so we offer both of those. Both of these environments are included for free. You get both. So you have a user that's on a remote desktop and you just want to try out the web client, we can just light it up for you. You can try it and it doesn't cost you anything extra. If you do have some users that could be web client only users, those users are a little bit less expensive because we don't have to provide remote desktop licenses. We don't have to provide Office licenses. So we pass those savings on to you. So you can save a little money with web client, but for those of us that are in Dynamics GP every day, all day, the remote desktop is there and is super powerful. All right, now I want to get into some of the things that we've been doing to make Dynamics GP better. So first of all, we've created some brand new applications for GP, some new ISV apps, one of which is called PowerGP Banking. PowerGP Banking allows you to connect to your bank using your online banking credentials, download transactions from your bank into Dynamics GP, and then automatically match those transactions against transactions that already exist in GP. If you have some transactions like, say, interest or a gateway charge that are on your bank statement, but you never got to entering them into GP, right from PowerGP Banking, you can import them into bank transactions and then move right on to reconciling your bank statement. I'm going to show this to you in a few minutes. It's really, really cool. It's helped me take reconciling our bank statements down from over an hour for our operating account down to like 10 minutes. It's really quick, it's really easy, and it's kind of fun to use too. We've also created something that lets you download credit card transactions. Again, just using your online banking credentials, you can download those credit card transactions, code them to GL accounts. The system remembers what you've coded to what GL account, so the more you use the credit card processing system, the less you have to use it, the more it remembers, and just makes it really easy to get your Amex statements and your Chase statements downloaded and into GP. We've also created a tool called PowerGP Import that allows you to import data from an Excel file. This is embedded directly inside the windows that you want to import to. So instead of going and opening up another application like Smart Connect or Integration Manager, you just say, I want to import customers. So you go to the customer maintenance window. We've put an import button on the window. You just press the button and you can import customers. If you want to import journal entries, you go to the journal entry import window and you press the import button and you can import journal entries. It's really, really easy. There's no field mapping. You just make sure the columns have the same names as the columns that we're importing, and that's it. It's really, really easy. I'm going to show both of these things to you here in a few minutes. We've got, I think, importers on about 25 different GP windows. We have also given you the ability to do updates on about 15 different windows. So that means when you're importing customers, you can import new customer records. You can also update existing ones. So if you want to change the salesperson or change the customer class on a group of records all at once, it's really, really easy to do that with PowerGP Import. We've also partnered with Notice and created a little element that makes it really easy for you to get started with Notice. You can fill out their application right online inside of our application. The information that they need gets sent to them The information that they need to put back into GP flows right back from Notice and into the screens in GP where it needs to be, all automatically. It just really makes getting Notice working better. And if you are using Notice's gateway, then they don't charge you anything for the software. You actually get the software for free in our environment, just for using their gateway. We've created a new API that we call PowerGP Connect that allows you to connect the Dynamics GP in our cloud to any other cloud application. If for some of you who've heard of like GP Web Services, what we've created is like GP Web Services 2.0. It's the version of GP Web Services that the people, the applications on the internet actually still use today. And so like GP Web Services uses old technologies like SOAP and XML, whereas our API uses the current technologies like JSON, and it's a RESTful endpoint. So you don't have to maintain connections with it. This allows you to do things like read data out of GP. You could hire a developer to create a little app on your mobile device that could use this API to pull data down and display it to you on your phone or tablet. You could use it to connect to Power Apps, for example. So you could pull data out of GP into a Power App on either a mobile device or a desktop. You can use it to connect with Power BI. You can also use it to update data inside of Dynamics GP using eConnect. So we built the API on top of SQL views. So when you're pulling data out, pulls it out of the SQL views. When you're writing data back, it goes through eConnect. So you can't break GP the way that you can if you hook up, say, Power, some of the Power applications to the gateways, where you're just working directly with tables. So we've made it so you can't mess up your Dynamics GP data if you're connecting it with the Power platform. And so you can update data if you need to, again, through the eConnect business logic layer, which keeps it safe and secure. And it's an amazing tool, one of the coolest things that we've made for PowerGP Online. I'm going to show it to you in a few minutes and show you how it can work, so you can create live local Excel reports on your local computer, pulling data out of the cloud. Now, something else that we've created, we created budgets for MDA. Some of you may not remember, I was in front of a room of folks at Summit, and I said budgets for MDA, and people were like, MDA, I don't remember, that sounds familiar, but I don't remember what that is. MDA is multidimensional analysis. That's like, gives you the ability to add dimensions to your general ledger and then code transactions against those dimensions. And you can have multiple dimensions on a single GL account. So for example, maybe you've got a travel expense account and you want to be able to track travel expenses by person. So instead of having a GL account for travel expenses for every person, you could just create a dimension called employees. And every time Joe travels, you can code his expenses, not just to the travel expense GL account, but to Joe's dimension in MDA. And then you might also want to be able to track travel expenses by events that your team attends. So, our team just got back from Summit. Maybe I want to track Mike's travel expenses, not just to Mike himself, but also to the events he attends. So when he attends Summit, or when he attends Doug, the Dynamics user group, we can see how much are we spending per person, how much are we spending across an entire event. That's what multidimensional analysis is. Now, there's also a product called analytical accounting that came into the GP ecosystem a little bit after MDA. Now, analytical accounting is a much more complex way to add dimensions to your general ledger, and it actually kind of messes up your GL data, makes it harder to do financial reporting. There's a whole lot of things about analytical accounting that make it really complex, especially for a mid-sized company. So at Ingevity, we've always felt that MDA was a much better, simpler, straightforward solution. But the only problem with MDA was that it didn't have the ability to do budgets. So we added it. So now you can have budgets I could put in budgets for Summit, budgets for Doug, budgets for Mike's travel expenses, budgets for Melissa's travel expenses, and then I can track those budgets to actuals, all without having to make my chart of accounts a lot bigger. It's really, really cool. We've also created a batch reset window. So if you get one of those errors where like this batch can't be processed, this batch is being edited by another user, but it's not being edited by another user. Instead of having to call your partner and they run a SQL script to fix it, you can just come to our batch reset window, pull up the batch, hit a button, and you can clear those errors. It's really, really nice. We've also made some adjustments to our AP entry window that adds some context awareness to it. I'm going to show that to you in a minute. We've done a whole lot of really simple things that just make the experience of using Dynamics GP better. So, for example, we've any screen where you have distributions, GL distributions, you have to enter a GL account. We've put the GL account description on the same row as the account number. So you enter the GL account number, and then you can immediately see the description of the account you picked. So you know exactly what account it's going to. You pull up an inquiry window, you want to see the same thing. You want to see the GL account number and the description. Out of the box windows, you only get the account number, and it's, most of us don't have that stuff memorized. I know some of you do, but most of us don't have that stuff memorized. So it's nice to be able to see the account names right there. We've done that same thing with item descriptions on sales order processing window and purchase order processing window, so you can see the account number and the account description. We've just made these windows a little bit wider, like all of our monitors have gotten wider, so that you can see a little bit more information. We've made the checkbook balance window better. When you open it up, you can actually select a checkbook and a date range before it calculates, so you don't have to open that window up and then wait for 3 or 4 minutes before you can put in a date range or a restriction to reduce the result sets that are coming back. We've made some changes to our customer and vendor master windows to make them more consistent and a little bit easier to use. We've also created a portal that you can use to manage your users. So if Susie quits today, she walks in the office and she Jerry Maguires you can walk right into our portal and you can say, I want to take Susie's license away, and Susie immediately no longer has access to your system. You can do that by yourself, on your own, even if it's at 2 in the morning, without having to interact with a member of our support team. You can add new users. So, you've got Stephen coming in to take Susie's place. You can go right into our portal. You can create a user for Stephen, assign Susie's licenses to him. You can do all of that on your own. I mentioned multi-factor authentication, talked a lot about that earlier. We've also created a really nice tool that you can run on premise when you're looking at moving into our cloud. That makes it really easy. We call it PowerGP Migrate. Makes it really easy for you to and for us to know exactly what you've got in your environment. It'll tell us things like what your SQL collation is, so we don't get surprised and find out, oh, you're running on a binary collation, and then we have to start all over. Or it tells us exactly what ISV products you're using, because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we lose track, or sometimes we just forget that this particular window is a McCorma window, and that we're using an ISV. So this tool makes it really easy for us to make sure that we know about all the customizations. You have all the ISVs and integrations before we get started on your move to the cloud, so that it just makes that whole process so much smoother. We've also just recently created a whole new set of tools that are on your remote desktop that allow you to make backups of your databases on your own, delete those backups when you no longer use them and don't want to pay for the disk space. We've also created some new disk space management tools that let you see exactly where your disk space is being consumed. So, if Joe has just been like syncing their OneDrive into our environment and they've got 7 gigs of data, you can go up to, you can run our tool and be like, holy cow, Joe, what are you doing? And go have a conversation with them. So, you're not paying for things that don't provide value to you. And these tools give you the ability to really figure that stuff out. We've also been working on some new upgrade utilities that give you even more self-service, so that you and your partners can do upgrades on your own, or of course you can always work with our team to help you on those as well. So that's a lot of stuff, Mike, that we've done to make Dynamics GP better and PowerGP Online. I hope there are some things on here that have kind of caught your interest, folks. We're going to take a look at these in just a minute. But before we get into the demo, I just want to give you a real quick preview of what's coming next, and that is PowerGP Payments. PowerGP Payments is a payment automation system that will help you make electronic payments very easily. It's built directly inside of PowerGP Online. It was built for Dynamics GP, so it completely understands how GP works. So there's no complex integrations or imports or anything like that. It's designed for the product that you already use. We've also designed it to be so easy that you can set it up on your own. You don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars with a partner or an ISV on services to help you get this up and running. It's really, really, really easy for you to do it on your own. It works directly through our API, so there's nothing that you have to do to export data or map data. You don't have to install a gateway. It just really quickly finds your vendors, syncs them, pulls in invoices, helps you onboard vendors into the electronic payment platform and get payments sent off to them. We've also provided a real easy approval system. So the people who need to approve these payments before they go out the door, since we're not signing checks anymore, this payment approval will allow you to get these things out. And all you're going to need to use it are online banking credentials. It's going to be super easy for you to use. And we are originally targeting to have it out here in Q4 of 2024. Now we're looking kind of Q2 of 2025. So that should be coming in the next 6 to 9 months. You should be seeing this release. So I want to show you a little bit of what this looks like. So what you're looking at on the screen right now, this is kind of the main dashboard for PowerGP Payments. Maybe this is what it looks like when you've logged in for the first time and you haven't really started using it. If you click on the payables section, you'll be able to come in and see a list of all your vendors. You can also hit the sync button in the top right corner of the screen, and see, I think I have like a little mouse thing here. Yeah, the sync, but you can hit the sync button in the top right corner of your screen, and what that's going to do is it's automatically going to pull in any new vendors that have been created since the last time you synced. So you'll see it found 2 more vendors. We can come over here and we can see I've got 2 vendors that have not yet been invited to the platform. I've got others that have been invited and have accepted the invitation and are active. And maybe I've got some who we invited and they said, no, we'd still like to get paid by a check. So we've marked them as inactive. Once I've got all my vendors in, you can select these vendors, you can send them invitations, you can ask them to participate in receiving electronic payments. And once they do that, they'll put in their bank account information, and then they'll be able to start receiving these payments from you. And that will automatically make them active, so that when we go to synchronize invoices, they will only synchronize the invoices from the vendors that have agreed to receive electronic payments. So you'll come over here and you'll push the sync invoices button, and we'll come out and we'll get all the invoices for those vendors that have not yet been paid. You can then select certain invoices using these little check boxes here on the left-hand side. You can select certain invoices that you want to be paid. We're also going to provide a filter system that allows you to say, show me all the invoices for this vendor class that are due within this date range. So you'll really be kind of able to have sort of like a select payments kind of experience. Once you've selected what you want to pay, we're going to give you an opportunity to come in and change the payment amount on these invoices. So maybe you don't want to pay this invoice in full, you just want to pay a portion of it. You can come in here and you can adjust those amounts. Finally, that's going to create a payment batch. This payment batch is you're going to submit for approval, and once it's been approved, it is going to show up here as your payment batch. You'll be able to track the status of it. You'll see recent payments, other invoices that remain unpaid, and you'll have your dashboard, so you know how many vendors haven't said yes, how many invoices you have that aren't scheduled, and so on. Real clean, real easy, real simple, and completely baked in to your PowerGP online experience. So finally, as we move towards the demo, I just want to highlight what the experience is like in migrating to PowerGP Online. It's really, really easy. This is part of why we say that PowerGP Online is the right path to the cloud, because you don't have to go through an expensive implementation project. This isn't going to cost you $100,000. It's not even going to cost you 80 hours. It is super easy. Effectively, all you have to do, if you've ever changed SQL servers in your GP deployment, it kind of works exactly like that, except instead of upgrading and moving to a new on-premises SQL server, you're moving to a SQL server in our cloud. So we're going to create an environment for you in our cloud. Some of our customers like to upgrade their GP in the process of moving to the cloud. Some of them just move straight from what version they're on to the same version. Totally up to you how you want to do that. And you give us a SQL backup of your database. We restore it into your environment. We make sure all your ISVs are installed, and you can come in and start using the system. We can do this in as little as a couple of days. We have customers who've gotten ransomware and they're on-prem or other cloud environments, and they've needed to move to something really fast. Literally in a day or two, we've been able to lifeboat those customers into our environment and get them up and running. Most of our customers, they want to take it a little easier, slower pace, and do some testing along the way. So most of our customers will make the move within 30 or 60 days, and we'll do a user acceptance testing process, so you can test everything in our environment while you're still using your on-premises environment. And then once you're completely satisfied that everything works, just move it all into our environment, and all your data moves. All of your history is going to be exactly where you expect it to be. It's going to work exactly the way it worked when you're on premises. You get all your ISVs, all your integrations, all your reports, everything about your GP system, all your processes and procedures, everything still works. It just works in our cloud. And you get all the cool things that we've done, and you get the benefits of PowerGP Protect to make sure that your data is protected and you don't have those ransomware issues. So that is what the experience of moving to PowerGP On is like. PowerGP Online is like. And now is the time on Sprockets where we do the demos. So I'm going to make a couple of adjustments here. Let's see. Okay. All right. Feel like you guys can see my screen. If anyone is playing webinar bingo, here it comes. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah? All right. Excellent. You can mark that one off. So I'm going to show you a couple of things here today. Right now, I'm logged into my demo environment using my remote desktop. And I think most of you already use GP, so this is probably really familiar to you. One of the ways that you know it's PowerGP Online is we have added an area page called PowerGP Online. So if I click down on this area page, this is where I'm going to see things like, getting our notice credit card processing set up. This is where I'm going to see creating my budgets for multidimensional analysis. Oh, here's my batch reset tool. So I can just pop open this window. I've got a batch out here that has a transaction error. If I just click on it and hit reset, that problem is solved. And this is also where I'm going to get into my PowerGP Banking, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. I also wanted to show you our AP entry window. This is one of the windows that we've modified that adds this contextual information on the right. So as I'm entering an AP voucher, as soon as I tab off the vendor ID field, I'm going to be able to see all this information about the vendor, recent payments, currently open payables, things I've entered that are unposted. I might notice that, this, actually, I think this transaction is this unposted payable, but I might notice, I've got another transaction out here with the same dollar amount. I wonder if they've invoiced me for the same thing twice. I can click on an open payable right from here and drill down to it. And I can also even just click on vendor activity, and it's going to take me right to the payables transaction inquiry window where I could see anything, any transaction about this vendor. And incidentally, there's my import button. So if I wanted to import payables transactions, I could do it right from here. I'm going to show this to you in oh, what the heck? Let's do it. We're here. I'm going to hit my browse button and let's see. Here we go. Payables transactions. It's going to bring it in. We actually validate all of the transactions in the file using eConnect. So you get these little green check boxes that'll tell me if this transaction is going to import. If I have like a vendor ID here that, or like say that the vendor ID doesn't exist in GP, when I validate, I'm going to get a little error that says, hey, this vendor, you need to enter a valid vendor ID. That vendor doesn't exist. And I can actually fix these problems right from this screen too. As you can see, I can edit directly in the grid. So if I'm posting to a closed period, or if I'm importing a transaction to a closed period, I can change the dates here. Can change payment terms. Really, really easy to make fixes while you're in this grid without having to go back to your file and fix it and come back. And so then if I'm going to import this to a batch called AP Import. So let's just hit the import button. There we go, all done. Come over here and do a little lookup. There's my AP Import. And I can see the transactions that we've imported. And I can even see the information about them right over here in our vendor activity window. Really, really easy. Incidentally, if I hop into distributions, this is where you're going to see that the account description on the same row as the account number. Isn't that nice? That's a little weird that we imported them both to the same account. But let's pull up another account here. No, this one is not found. Well, let's put this guy, actually, I'll just put this to a travel account. Using SmartFill, I can find that real easy. And there we go, travel expense, AP, accounts payable. Just makes it really easy to read these distribution windows. All right. Let's take a look at PowerGP Banking. So what I'd like to show you now is a little bit of what we've created to make the bank reconciliation process so much easier. So I've already done the setup process. If I come into PowerGP Banking Financial Institution Setup, this is where I'm going to connect to American Express, Wells Fargo, PNC, whatever, Chase, whatever institutions you're working with. When you add an institution, it's going to ask you for your online banking credentials, and then it'll connect up to that institution for you. And that's really all that's required. It's really, really easy to connect to the institution. But I also don't like having because these are real institutions, I also don't like, putting my usernames and passwords in on live webinars. I'm sure you can understand. So we've already connected. It's like a baking show. We've already connected to those accounts. So now all we want to do is the download part. So I'm going to come down and download transactions. In this case, I'm going to download bank transactions from Wells Fargo. Now, normally, I would just say download for a particular month or since my last download. But in this case, because it's a demo and it's a real account, I want to pick a very specific date range. And then I'll hit download transactions. Now, at this point, we're going to go out and ask the bank for all of your transactions. If you have multiple accounts at the bank, now we're going to pick a particular account. And now I can see all the transactions within this date range on this account. I'm going to mark all and choose download. So we're going to pull these transactions now from the bank into a staging table inside of PowerGP Online that we're going to use to compare with transactions that you've already entered in Dynamics GP. Pardon me there, I just had to hit the cough button. All right, so now I've got my transactions downloaded. I'm going to choose bank transaction matching. And I'm going to pick a checkbook, my Wells Fargo operating account. I'm going to enter the date of the statement that I am trying to reconcile. Let's just say we're doing our October statement. And I'm going to hit submit. Now, what's happening right now is we're actually creating a bank reconciliation header record inside of GP, because as we mark things as matched, we're going to be checking the little boxes inside of GP to show that they've been reconciled. So as you can see here on the left-hand side of the screen, I've got transactions that have been downloaded from my bank, and on the right-hand side, I've got stuff that exists in PowerGP. If I wanted to, I could just drag and drop and match the transactions. That's kind of fun to show in a demo, but in real life, when you have hundreds of transactions, if I told you had to drag and drop to match all of them, that wouldn't be a lot of fun. I know I wouldn't like it. So we've created something called auto match that has a little AI algorithm built into it that goes through and tries to match on its own everything it can on the left with everything it can on the right. So here are my downloaded bank transactions. Here's my PowerGP transactions. I can look and see, by the way, the red color means that they are taking money out of my account, and black means it's putting money into my account. So these are all decreased transactions or checks. If anything here is not something that I want to match, I can just click the little red X and remove the match. But this all looks good to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit match transactions. And just like that, I've automatically reconciled all those transactions. Now, the next thing I like to do here is I like to change my display to only show me things that have not yet been matched, because these are really the things that I need to deal with before I can go reconcile my account. Over here on the left, It looks like I've got a deposit in Wells Fargo for $25,000, and it looks like I've got 3 deposits in GP for about $25,000. Now in order to manage this kind of situation, which is really, really common, we've created a solution called multi-match. So you click on the multi-match button, and I can select the $25,000 on the right, mark the 3 transactions on the left. I'm getting my left and right's mixed up. On the left, on the right. And once I get my difference down to 0, I can just hit match. Now, what's beautiful about multi-match is I could have 2 transactions on the left matching to 3 transactions on the right, or I could have 3 transactions on the left matching to 1 transaction on the right, or what you're seeing here with 1 on the left to 3 on the right. Like it really does allow you the ability to take multiple things on the left, match them to multiple things on the right. And as long as our difference is 0, it's okay. So this really helps a lot with some of the credit card deposits and the way our bank handles EFTs. We use this all the time. So I'll hit the match. And there we go. Everything on the right side is gone, but I still have 2 things over on the left that I need to deal with. These look like bank fees. So I'm just going to check these boxes and hit the import into PowerGP. It remembers that I've entered these before, so it's automatically filling in what my GL account should be. I just need to put these in as decrease adjustments. There's one for 15, one for 50. I'll hit import, and we will import these right into GP in real time as bank transactions. So great. All my transactions are gone. I can just hop back over into GP. Let's go into our reconcile window and pull up Wells Fargo. There we go. You'll notice there's already a record here with a date. That happened when I entered the date in PowerGP Banking, and then I need to enter an ending balance. We're a little overdrawn in this account, it seems, but when I hit my transactions button, see all these items are marked. Here are my 2 decrease adjustments. There's that 15 and 50. If I drill down on them, you'll see the descriptions right from the bank have been put into the transactions. And also, what's really fun about this, I mean, this is like live connected to PowerGP Banking. So if I just came in here and I just unmarked that $200, if I come back over into the match window and refresh, there's unmatched over here. And now I could just, we'll just reconnect them. And they'll be rematched. Really, really easy. Oh, and by the way, my reconciliation difference is 0, so I could just go ahead and reconcile these. So that's a little example of how PowerGP Banking can really make the process of reconciling your bank statements really, really easy. All right, the next thing that I want to show you is a little bit more on PowerGP Import. So I'm going to do 2 imports for you, maybe 3. Let's start with a GL entry import. So I'm going to come over to Financial Transactions General. Let's see what we've got out here right now. All right. So I've got a couple of CMTRXs and a Jedi training batch. I'm going to hit the import button. And let's go get my GL journal entries. Bring this in. And it looks like I've got a payroll batch and a day sales outstanding batch. And this works just like it did over in payables. If I, for example, try to hit this against an account that doesn't exist, I'm going to get a validation error that tells me that that row doesn't exist. Let's grab it. There we go. Let's get that fixed. And then when I'm ready, I can just hit the import button. We're doing these imports through eConnect again. So everything's coming in the way that it should. Let's pick that DSO transaction. You'll notice, this is, again, we've made this modification so you can see the account number and the description on the same window. Really, really easy to do these kind of imports. One of the questions we get a lot is, well, how is that different from copy paste? Well, with our PowerGP import, you can import multiple batches at one time, as you saw I just did. So it's just a little bit more flexible, and it's a similar kind of process as copy paste, just kind of moving from an Excel file into PowerGP import. Plus copy paste I think works on GL transactions and AP transactions, whereas PowerGP import works on I think 35 different screens across Dynamics GP. So that's an example of importing a journal entry. Let's take a look at doing a customer import. Now this one I'm going to do a little bit differently. If I wanted to, I could come over to my customer card, and just like in the other areas, I've got my import button. So I can import customers right from the customer maintenance window. But I think where I'd really like to import customers from is the customer navigation list. Now this is really fun because like I can do the import and then refresh the list, and you can see all the customers I just imported right on this list, which is pretty exciting. So here I am on my customer navigation list, and you'll notice there's a section here on my list called PowerGP Import. So I can just hit my, I want to import customers. Incidentally, I could also be importing customer address records. And I'm going to browse out. I think my window's still loading. Okay, there we go. Browse out to my customers file. Now, one of the things you'll notice here is I have an allow updates checkbox. Allow updates, this is what allows me to update data on an existing record versus inserting new records. In this case, if I unmarked the box and one of these customer IDs already existed, we just skip it. Because it already exists and you don't want us to update it. If allow updates is marked, then when we import the data, we'll say, oh, this customer ID already exists, so we're going to update the data that's the rest of the data that's here. Which is why we have this ignore blanks. So let's say you are importing this, and add that what you're importing, address 3 or your country code is blank, and you don't want to get rid of this stuff. You just aren't interested in importing it right now. If you ignore blanks, we're not going to overwrite what's there with a blank. If you unmark this box, then we'll set, we would set, say, your ship to or bill to address to blank if that's what you have in your file. So this just gives you some flexibility to not have to have a big file. Like literally, you see the columns that are red, those are literally the only columns that are required on here to do an import. So you could have a spreadsheet that just has customer ID, customer name, address ID, and salesperson ID, and just bring that data in. And again, I can change stuff right from here. So maybe I want to change Greedo to Han Solo. We just do that, hit my import, and then we refresh our grid, and there we go. There's my 3 new customers that we just imported. Now, right now, I can see I made a little bit of a mistake because I imported them with myself as the salesperson. And while I'm pretty good at giving a demo, I'm really bad at follow-up calls. So I should probably not be the salesperson on these customers. How do we fix that without going in and changing on every single one? Well, funny you should ask that. For every single one of our imports that has a has the ability to do updates, we have added a smart list. So PowerGP Import customers, for example, and I've created a favorite so it only pulls the customers that are assigned to me. But basically, this smart list already knows what the name of every column needs to be for PowerGP Import to import it. So I can take this smart list, I can drop it out into an Excel spreadsheet, and I can change the salesperson ID. I hear that Boba Fett is really good at getting people to do what he wants them to do. So let's make him be our salesperson. Now you'll notice that the columns here aren't necessarily in the same order as they are in the import screen. That's because the column order doesn't matter. You could even add columns that have different names that are just here to help you make sure you've got the data the way you want it. If you have a column that's named something that we don't recognize, we're just going to ignore it. We're literally just looking for columns that have these specific names. So whatever's in the salesperson space ID column, that's what's going to get put into the salesperson ID in GP. It's really, really easy. So I make that change. Let's do a quick little save as. Let's make it a CSV file. And I'm going to put it over here in my import demo files. We'll call this customer update November 24. Can you guys believe it's November? Holy cow. All right, we'll save that guy. And then I can just come right back over here, hit my import. Browse out to my file. There we go, customer update November 24. Now this time, as it validates, I'm going to get a little warning sign. The little warning sign is telling me that, hey, this customer already exists in PowerGP Online, and we're going to update it. If you don't want them updated, you can just uncheck that box, and when it revalidates, you're going to get a little message that says this customer ID already exists. Choose the option to allow update to update. Otherwise, we're just going to skip it because it already exists. So you really have the capability of doing either one. Let's get these revalidated. As I scroll down here, you'll see my salesperson comes in as Mr. Fett. Let's get that import done. And we'll do a refresh. And now Mr. Fett is the person assigned as the salesperson right here. So real easy. Now the last import demo I'm going to show you is, this is one I often don't have time to show, but it's a really fun one. This is how easy it is using PowerGP Import to update price lists. So I'm going to come over to my inventory cards and look at price lists for a minute. And you know, as Mark Rockwell alluded to so eloquently in his song at the PowerGP party, we have sold a lot of green phones. So I'm going to use that one as an example. So here is my green phone. You can see my price lists here. You know, 5692, 5407. They're all based on a percentage of something, a markup of current cost. All right. I'm also going to do an update on our 128 mega RAM. Looks like these two are just set as currency amounts, $3.99 and $2.99. So that's my current situation. Let's come over and hit my import on our item import pricing tool. And I've got an item pricing update that we're going to bring in. So for my green phone, you're going to notice I'm going to make some changes to my percentages. I think this is actually, you know what? I did this demo before and I never set it back to out of the box. So let's just go back to the item pricing out of the box, which is going to be a lot simpler than what you just saw. So let's go ahead and import these guys. We'll look at our green phone. See, I told you I don't do this demo very often. There we go. So look how simple the green phone pricing is. Just a couple of options there, and our 128. We just got a retail and a tier 1, both kind of set with odd little prices. Now we'll do the import back to what they were before. So if you have a lot of experience with importing prices, you'll notice, I mean, we made changes to our starting and ending quantities. We've got multiple pricing tiers and price levels for each of these. You know, this is a pretty complicated integration manager import, but we've just made it really, really simple with just a nice little spreadsheet template that allows you to update your price lists if that's something that you need to do. Incidentally, with all of PowerGP Import, if you come over here to this template, little template button on every window, and open it, this is going to open up a little zip file for you that has a template for that import with all the column names that you could possibly use. It's going to have a sample that has data in it so you can see what it looks like with data in it. And it's going to have a PDF that tells you how to use the tool. So all of the documentation that you need to use each of these imports is just embedded right inside of each window. All right, the final thing that I want to show you is how to use PowerGP Connect. And on the way to showing you, PowerGP Connect is our API. This is what we use to create like live Excel reports, which is the demo I'm going to show you today. We've also used PowerGP Connect to create an automatic connection with PopDoc. You can also use it with Power BI and the whole Power Platform. In fact, we have a whole bunch of Power BI reports that we provide to our customers who want to use Power BI. It's really, really easy. But before I do any of that, I'm going to do something you're not supposed to do in a demo, and that is I am going to run a SQL script. So I've got this little SQL script out here. It's going to create a new view. It's going to create a view called Demo Customers, and it's just going to select a couple of columns where the customer name begins with AAA. So like those customers I just imported, that's what we're trying to pull. So if I come in here and we just select that view, you can see that's what we've got: customer number, name, contact, address, city, state, postal code. Now I want to take this view and create a live Excel report with it. So I'm going to come over here into PowerGP Connect, and I need to relog into it because I timed out. Pick the company that I want to import with. And this little console that you see here, this is how we manage the security for PowerGP Connect. So you may have an endpoint that displays GL transactions, and there's only a couple people in your company that you want to have access to that. You might have another endpoint that displays customers, and you want to be able to control who has access to this data through the API. If I come over to my object list, this is where I'm going to see all the objects that come out of the box with PowerGP Connect, and you can see there's a lot of them. We've really tried to provide you with with a whole host of almost everything you're going to need. But just in case you want to create your own objects, maybe you have an ISV that you want to create objects for, or maybe you've just created your own views and you want to be able to use those with PowerGP Connect. We've made it extensible. So I'm going to come in and click Create New Object. And the SQL object name is called, actually, I think I'm going to call this, this is my PowerGP Connect object name. I'm going to call it Get Star Wars Customers, because all these customers I created are kind of Star Warsy. I'm going to put it in my sales series. I'm going to tell it that it's a view, and the SQL name is Demo Customers. Sometimes autocorrect really saves your butt. Love it. All right, so I want to create this guy. I only want to create it inside of my Exegol Cloning Incorporated. I'm going to create that view inside that company. And now I'm going to put a filter on an object so I can pull everything that contains the word star. There we go, Get Star Wars Customers. Now by default, we've given access to all of our users. You can come in here to associated users and make changes to security. But you'll notice this URL. This is the URL that when I use this URL, I'm going to get the data from that view. So I'm going to copy the URL and I'm going to bring it over to a spreadsheet. And in my spreadsheet, I'm going to go to the Data tab and say I want to get data from the web. And I'm going to paste into the little box that's about to show up the URL with the Get Star Wars Customers. And say OK. This is going to open up Power Query. Which it opened up on another window, so I just need to move it over here. All right, here's my Power Query. I'll refresh this data. I'm going to convert it to a table. And then I'm going to expand these columns. And now I have something that looks a heck of a lot like a SQL query. And I'm just going to choose Close and Load. And boom, now that data is in my spreadsheet. If I pop back over to Dynamics GP, let's come over to our customer balances here. And let's grab that Han Solo customer. And I'm going to change the name here to, Andrea, I'll pick on you here. Andrea Crum. We'll hit save. Now, you got to watch this really quick because this happens so fast. So you're watching column C right here, Han Solo. I'm going to hit this refresh button and just see how fast that updates. So data in the cloud and Excel on my local computer. Incidentally, I've got another little view here. Get customers. This is one of my favorite views. I love this one. This is one of the views we created for you. Everybody gets this as part of PowerGP Online. And I just want to show you kind of what we've done is how we've tried to anticipate what our customers want. I'm going to convert that to a table. Expand my columns. And then we'll close and load. Now I'm going to end up with two tabs. One's Get Customers, one's Get Star Wars Customers. And just want you to notice as we go along things like, hold status, not on hold, as opposed to like zeros and ones. As you move across the screen, you'll see like we've pulled their balance due and average days to pay, which is in a different table. We've pulled their aging information into the system. We've also pulled in things like their email address, and their notes. So, oh, I didn't mean to copy that down. So if you've put in a note on Bob's customer record, we even have the note information in here for you. So really great information. Again, live Excel reports, and all you have to do is hit this refresh button and the data just gets refreshed that quickly. It's really, really easy. All right, so that brings me to the end of the demo. I'm going to flip this back over to the PowerPoint.